Hello everyone, this is something a little bit different for the YouTube channel. At the moment we've just done some tutorials and stuff like that, but what I wanted to do is actually get some of the podcasting we've been doing up on the YouTube channel. So if you're looking for something to listen to while you are doing some painting or just doing some hobby, every month or so I've been getting a few people together, some hobbyists that I know, people that come into the shop, and we've just been chatting about what we've been interested in the hobby, 40k, Age of Sigmar, all that sort of stuff. So if you want something to have a listen to while you're doing some painting, then why not give these a shout? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to finish this intro here, and then we're going to start the recording for the Pandemic podcast. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Grumpy Pony podcast. So during lockdown I said I was going to get back and do some more podcasts. Finally managed to get Tony and Mark in to do the podcast. So without further ado, let's get on with it. So as I said, I've got Tony with me. Say hello Tony.
Hello Tony.
Oh, I knew you'd do that. And we've got Mark. So Mark, welcome, your first podcast.
Yeah, hello everybody.
Oh.
So, like we normally do with these podcasts, I have a couple of things.
Do that again?
No, don't worry about it. One take. We've got a couple of things just want to go through and just sort of bullet points we'll go through and just get your opinions on stuff. So, without further ado, the first thing I want to talk about is obviously 9th edition 40k. Now, you two are much more sort of up on 40k than me. So I really want to get your guys' feelings on the new edition, what you like, what you're not so keen on, all of it. So who wants to go first?
Me? Okay.
And I think I could put money on what you're not keen on.
Well, I'm not keen. I'm not going to talk about what I'm not keen on, because that's not so much 9th edition. That's a new chapter. So new.
What chapter is that, son?
It doesn't matter. We're talking about 9th edition. We're not going to talk about any new Space Marine codex that might have screwed over some anti-Xenos Primaris Space Marines. That's all we're going to say. 9th edition, so I've actually just played my first proper game in 9th edition today with Mark, which was good. It's a lot more to think about. It is not quite so much of a straight up chucker as I think Ben was thinking it was going to be this morning.
I'm always expecting a straight up chucker with you on the table, mate.
Well, is what it is. It's a lot to try and take in, to think about what you're trying to achieve, what your opponent's trying to achieve. It's good, don't get me wrong, it's just a lot to take in all at once. I think with practice I'll probably get better at it, but it feels like a whole new kettle of fish. And what were we saying earlier? We like turn ones become, especially with all the extra terrain, there's line of sight blocking terrain now, so turn one, which used to be so key for blasting your opponent off the table, that seems to be less of a problem now. Certainly my Imperial Guard struggled to blast anything off the table. I think I killed 4 Marines and 2 of those got back up on the first turn.
I think it's important to say as well that obviously we're playing match play today, so obviously 9th edition has catered for all different kinds of players, with the open play and the crusade games and the match play, but obviously we're predominantly match played gamers.
Yeah.
Probably class ourselves high end.
I'd say you are.
I'd like to think we're competitive players.
I mean, Mark's certainly high end. We won't say why, but...
Well, I have a trophy now. I don't like to bring it up, but...
Yes. Were you second in the world?
We were second in the world, as in
Warhammer
World, yeah. Doubles tournament last year, maybe the year before, can't remember.
Yeah, I'd definitely say you are. Because, I mean, what I like, and I think you're right as well, the fact that it does cater for people like me who don't necessarily play as competitively. So all of my games of night so far have been Crusade games.
Yeah. And I'm really interested in the Crusade stuff. I like that they've kind of fleshed out the ability to do a narrative. I know Mark and I and a couple of other people, we were doing something similar pre-lockdown without any of these rules, and to know that they're there now could have made a really interesting narrative element for the games that we were playing. I do have a fear that it will end up kind of like how the old Necromunda tournaments, Necromunda campaigns used to be, where very quickly units can start becoming really overpowerful, but until we kind of play through it.
Yeah, and I think we've said it before as well, that with anything like that, although you've got the rule set given to you by Games Workshop or whoever it might be, it's really down to the players making some agreements beforehand. House rules, I think, are really important there to stop those sort of things happening and stop people sort of gaming it. But it's a narrative thing, so you're normally going to get players that aren't necessarily going to be min-maxing as much and things like that anyway. But I think it's down to the players themselves to sort of work it out.
Yeah, I think it's about attitude, isn't it? And it's about, having people that are wanting to play Crusade, that want to play it in the right frame of mind, equally as much as you got people that want to play match play and play it that way.
Exactly.
We're all sticking to rules if you're playing match play. In Crusade, I would say it's probably more a guideline.
It's a bit looser. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and you're not getting into that tournament world of it having to be a set way because it's competitive. You can really do what you want with it.
Yeah.
And it opens up some great options, I think.
Yeah, and they've got ways of balancing it. The Crusade points I think can be used to balance it as well. It's never going to be perfect, but it's a narrative, so it's going to be a bit looser and it's going to be a bit easier, I suppose, to be a bit wonky.
And what I did find quite interesting, I didn't want to talk about Space Marine Codex. It's still, still a bit
dragging
of a
it
sore
up.
point.
Yeah.
I can still taste those salty tears in here.
All the flavours in the world, you chose to be salty.
But if the Space Marine Codex is anything to go by, I like the fact that they gave like some basic rules for the Crusade with the rulebook. But with the Space Marine Codex, you've got stuff that's specifics for Space Marines.
Yeah.
So if they're going to do a Crusade, they've got their own thing that they've got their own abilities and stuff. And if they're going to do that with all of the codexes, then it will help to drive that narrative.
Well, yeah.
Because they're going to have different objectives. The Tyranids are not going to have the same objectives as Space Marines.
Yeah. I think as well what I really like about it is it's taken a bit of a lead from Warcry, where the Crusade is essentially your own personal journey. You don't have to play the same people all the time. So it happens all the time, doesn't it? You start a Crusade or a campaign with someone, one person drops out, and all of a sudden everyone else is like, oh, we've got to rehash it and try and make it work now because the other person drops out. Now you don't have to rely so much on that. You can just do it yourself, and if you're playing your regulars, great, but you can use any game you want to sort of add to it.
Yeah, that's very true. I hadn't really thought of it like that. It's it's a bit more linear for one person, and you can do probably a decent campaign with 3 or 4 players and not need the days of yore where we had sort of 8 or 10 players in the Necromunda campaigns, but 3 people would play 4 games in a week and then their games would be insane. It's not like that anymore. They've sort of set all their campaigns, and I think it's a great direction to go in to allow you to have just a small group of friends, maybe 2, 3 of you, that can all run a campaign and have all your own goals.
And especially with lockdown and, or social distancing as it is, if you've got small groups of gamers, we can start these campaigns in our own little small groups, and as and when things start to get back to normal, your journey, your Crusade army, you can find other people that are in a similar. I mean, it doesn't need to be exactly the same because they cater for that with the Crusade ones, but the fact that you can sort of mix with other groups and such, and do so in a structured way, loosely structured way, is really good.
Yeah.
I think generally though, if I was to sum up 9th edition, I loved 8th edition, and I think it's basically taken all the good fundamentals of 8th and improved it. I think it's a better edition. I think we're going to have a crazy year of codexes being all over the place and it not really fitting in and working, but I think once we get back to the point we were a year and a half ago where all the codexes are out, everything was right in 8th, I think it'll right itself. I think you've got to have a bit of faith in it, especially if you match play. There are armies that have done really well out chapter approved, points cost, and some that have done very badly, and the new codexes are bringing a lot of stratagems to the board, but I think the Marine Codex is definitely not as powerful as it was. It's balanced. I think the Necron Codex has got a bit stronger, which they needed to do. So I'm hoping it's going to, they're going to find a nice balance. They've got some good guys working on it. But I think generally my overall opinion of 9th would be it's a better edition than 8th.
Yeah.
Just need to bear with it for the next year or so.
Yeah, I think it's good. I mean, it's funny, like being in the shop, you hear loads of sort of weird complaints you wouldn't really expect. And one of the biggest ones I heard, which really, well, I thought was a bit random, really, was people complaining that the table size was going to be changed. Do you think it's affected things?
I think when you've played on a 6x4 table since 1996,
Yeah.
like us guys out, or maybe even earlier, I can't remember.
Well, we've been playing on 6x4 for a long
I
time.
started when I was 11, 37 now, so we're talking a long time ago.
26 years, quarter of a century.
Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, it's an impact in that respect, but I actually see why the tables have shrunk. It makes a lot of sense.
And you don't have to stick to that as well.
No, exactly. It says minimum size, doesn't it? Yeah.
So,
again, we're talking match play
for
versus...
match play,
Yeah.
for
Match play states it has to be that size, but
Yeah.
that's the regulations, right?
Yeah.
We always said like some of the best games we played many moons ago were smaller forces on a big table, without the turn limits and stuff. You can do, but that's when you're getting really into the narrative element of it, and there's nothing stopping you from doing that.
No, not at all.
But in a match play environment, a 500-point game spread over a big table can, especially if you're a combat army, can be a bit
demoralising, I suppose, because you're never going to do anything. But I think 6x4, I would like to have seen it stay 6x4. And there was a lot of arguments for the reason it's been shrunk is because now virtually every part of the table has a little conflict going on. Whereas before you could literally be fighting just on one half of the table and then a whole 3 foot by 4 foot would be wasted. Whereas now it does feel, it's going on the games that I've played and the games we played today, there was pockets, there was flanks, putting intervening terrain in the middle of the board, obscuring terrain that you can't see through creates battles on the flanks and in the centre, and it creates better games, I think.
Yeah, I think I've seen it when you see the difference when people are playing from 8th as well. You'd have maybe a lot of these armies as well would just be spread out right along the whole
just two
table.
lines that met in the middle.
And then that would be it. Whereas when I've seen people play 9th, it's much more varied. You can't just sort of guess exactly what's going on just by looking at the table now. So I think it's great.
Yeah, and I think with match play, the fact that there's a lot more objectives you sort of need to go and get that aren't necessarily yours at your home ones. Like today, you had 4 transports. How often did Guard have that? You didn't see it in 8. It wasn't. There were some people that took them, but it's nice to see some Valkyries out or Vendettas or whatever, and some Chimera. It was nice to see a bit of mobility, and the board moved. There was definitely parts of the board that were shifting around. So it was nice to. It's nice to see the movement phase mean something again. Because before it was literally walk forward 6 inches.
Well, I mean,
shoot, walk forward 6 inches, shoot.
Might as well have muskets.
Yeah, exactly.
I got that Cadian army midway through 8th edition, and I only played a couple of games with it in 8th edition, and on pretty much both occasions it was designed as a static gun line. I had a bunch of infantry standing in front of a bunch of tanks, and I just blasted everything until there was nothing left. And that was not an option anymore in this edition, which is a good thing.
Definitely a good thing.
The castling has gone. I've got a small castle going on with my Dark Angels at the moment. It's quite a mean feat. I'm sure it'll be picked up by many of the top gamers out there, what they'll be doing. It's hard to kill. You will see little pockets of it, but even still, I have to have mobility in my list. I can't hedge my bets on having one castle now. That doesn't exist. You can't just sit there and blow your opponent off the table and hope to win. That's not how it is, because they can obviously manoeuvre and score points before you get a chance to score them, and they're important. They're worth big points. So yeah, I mean, it's nice to see mobility, and with a smaller table, you still get the conflicts going on, but they're a little bit more close and personal sometimes, and sometimes they've got a bit of distance because the table's smaller, that you can have a bit of a longer range fight.
Well, and the terrain having much more of an impact,
Yeah,
it means
massively.
you've got to deal with it. You can't just shoot through everything.
I mean, it's been 7 editions since you had proper line of sight. You could effectively hide your guys.
Yeah. It's been a long time, and I think it needed to happen. I mean, a lot of it come off the back of some ITC tournaments that were played in 8th edition that had their own house rules of you couldn't shoot through ground floors of windows and stuff. And, it gave assault armies a chance to get up to things, which sadly, unless you're playing an assault army that drops out the sky and has a chance of charging you from 7 inches, if you've got +2 to your charge with a reroll, you're generally using a bit of trouble as an assault army. But now I think it's opened it up and it gives you half a chance. So I think the game is more balanced, definitely better balanced.
I'll be really interested to start thinking about my Tyranids again, and like with that line of sight blocking terrain, being able to.
Well, I've noticed with the Gene Stealer Cult now that whereas before like half your army would just be deleted, at least now you can hide them and you can get them places, and yeah, they're not going to take loads of fire still, but they're still going to survive a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And it makes it all just a little bit more interesting, and the terrain and stuff becomes a little bit more important for me, and thematically makes more sense. They would be hiding in all these little nooks and crannies and stuff.
And I think the boards look better with more terrain on, right?
We've always said that.
You know, you've always liked a packed board, and you know, we're not saying literally have like 2-inch channels going all the way around between each bit of scenery, right? But you know, you can pack a board out, it works nicely, and it adds lots of firing lines, which I guess you would have in cities and you have in.
It's like narratively it works.
Yeah, it
like
does.
Especially whenever you like hear any of the books or like you read any of the books or anything, it's always like buildings on buildings on buildings. It's really claustrophobic.
Yeah.
But then when you look at some of the older tables, it's just empty fields.
Like football pitches.
Yeah. Meet you on the green.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about that old green board that we spent all our things on, which had it was a wooden board with green flock on. And most of the green flock had come off.
Well, it was green paint that had rubbed through sand in it, and it probably lasted. I think it's still going now.
It's still going now,
but it's gone back to like bare wood parts of it, like the paint was peeled off and all the sand's come out. Yeah, that's had some action on it. That table over the years, but again, we would fill it up with scenery, and it's nice.
I think that's the way you got to do it.
Yeah,
I think it's the same for Sigmar as well.
Yeah,
I think it's more interesting with like lots of things going on, because you've got to think about it more. You can't just go, there goes everything up front.
Yeah, exactly.
So cool. So we all agreed that 9th is awesome.
Oh yeah, I prefer it. I mean,
I can't think of anything bad that's happened in 9th edition.
I mean, Tony's first game was a loss, so that's awesome.
Well, I have a trophy, don't you know?
I mean, how can I compete with the second best?
Second best, don't you know?
Have I mentioned that? I don't think I've mentioned it.
No.
Surprised. So, hobby-wise, I know, Tony, you're a monster that doesn't paint your own stuff, but hobby-wise, what are you excited about? Have you got anything someone else is working on for you that you're excited about?
The Vindicator.
Say again?
The Vindicator.
Mandalorian.
The Vindicator Assassin. So if any of you have watched the Mandalorian series, have we all watched the Mandalorian?
No.
I have, yeah.
No.
Okay. Well, the Mandalorian is an awesome series, and I found a company. Sad to say, Ben wasn't offering it, but I have found a very cool model that looks like a Mandalorian, but will be an excellent Vindicator Assassin, complete with a snot in a floating pram.
Baby Yoda, right?
Baby Yoda, yeah. It's great.
So I'm looking forward to getting that one on the table. I mean, I already have 2 Vindicator Assassins.
Yeah, but he's going to have to be on there. You have to see him on the table. I think he's going to look cool.
But I think he will be the one that gets... If I'm only fielding one, he's definitely going to be the one once he's up on the table.
And you're excited because you've got like a pro painter painting it.
Yeah, very looking forward to getting...
At Painting Sellers, I think it is.
His Instagram.
Tag on Instagram, yeah. Painting Sellers. He is a
school
friend of ours.
He's
magnificent painter.
He really is. I had a look at his Instagram.
Yeah.
It's one of those ones where you're like,
I'm jealous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started mine and I've got like 3 models on it, and I've been doing a load of conversion work and base spraying and trying to get myself back at the painting station, but I'm painting everything I'm not using, Ben.
I know, mate. I remember you saying that the other day.
I'm running around with undercoated black armies at the moment.
Losing 10 points.
Yeah, losing 10 points.
That's why it was a close game. Somebody else had painted all my army.
Well, yeah, you know.
Yeah, that's the point, though. What's your opinion on that? Because I quite like that. The idea that it encourages people to bring a painted army.
So the argument was, and again, from a competitive point of view, a lot of independent tournament organisers was saying you can bring unpainted models.
Right.
Because there's aspects to the hobby.
Yeah.
So you don't like painting, you never have done, it's never really been your thing.
It's never drawn.
And there are people out there that don't want to paint.
Yep.
But there are people out there that want to paint. So what they've done now is say, look, you can use unpainted armies. But if you put an extra bit of effort in, you're going to, every game you play, get a 10% point increase.
I agree with that.
I think it's great.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
As somebody that doesn't really enjoy the painting element of it, it doesn't mean that it doesn't feel great when you've got 2 really nicely painted armies on the table. Like, it looks awesome. And I wish I was more interested in painting, but I'm just not. I haven't got the patience for it. But I love playing a game when you've got 2 armies that look great.
Yeah. And I was saying to a friend of ours, Gavin, that he's just starting a Primaris army. But Ben, you've obviously just painted your Chaos guys, the Age of Sigmar guys.
Yeah.
Full contrast.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
right? Pretty much.
So
Yeah.
There's no real excuse that you can't get a painted army with one base coat colour and 3 different colours.
Yeah, there's no excuse.
There's no real excuse, you know.
Other than bone idle laziness.
Well, yeah, I mean, as long as you lean into it, you know what I mean? It's just,
But again, it's not saying you have to do it, but it's giving you the option of, look, if you want to play with unpainted models, you're just going to be at a slight disadvantage.
Yeah.
And they're encouraging people to try and do all aspects of the hobby, which is fine.
I
But if you're
think
really
so.
not into it, you'll just have a little hindrance of it.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And again, that's only really going to be for match play.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And if you're with a group of friends and you decide you don't want to play with that rule,
No one's making you, are they?
nobody's really kind of going to force you into it.
Yeah.
And you know, if all your mates are really forcing you into it, then maybe that is going to encourage you to do it, or find somebody else to paint it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is always that
Yeah,
option.
because I'm not going to be walking in table flipping people if there's grade models on the table. I just think there's I've said to you a few times, Marv, isn't it? It's that thing where, are these just game pieces to you, or is it a bit more?
Is it a hobby or is it a game?
Yeah.
And you're right. There's a certain, and I think, and I'm not saying it's the youth of today, but when we got yeah, exactly right. When we got into the hobby, a lot of the Games Workshop managers would be about the assembly, the painting, the gaming. They would try and cover all aspects of the hobby and try to get you to enjoy all aspects of the hobby.
Yeah.
Whereas now, you know, Games Workshop do a blue plastic for the easy to build stuff, so you can just put them down as a blue army, and you know it sort of works, sort of doesn't.
It's sort of this board game element. Yeah, which is, I don't know. I'm a bit of a stickler for it. I've had not arguments with people in the shop, but I've said, you know, there's nothing beats 2 painted armies on the table.
No, it looks fantastic.
Like, as soon as you see just a load of grey, it just takes you out of it completely. Yeah. It really does. And I won't bring anything that isn't finished.
And even to the point, Tom, you're not so happy with the way your Tyranids are painted, but they're painted. And actually, when on the board, at least they got some paint on them. They got a bit of definition to, you know, the chitin and stuff, and it's sort of actually it looks all right when you're playing.
Yeah, I think most of the Tyranids are done now.
Yeah, so I would never. If someone's not made the effort, even if they're not the best painter in the world, I wouldn't be like, oh, that's rubbish. I wouldn't be like critical, because I think there's a lot to be said. If they painted them, then that's their army. Then I'm more happy with that.
Have you seen Duncan Rhodes put up the first miniature ever painted?
Yeah,
Everyone starts somewhere, right?
Yeah.
You know, you're not going to. I
Yeah,
guarantee you're not going to pick a paintbrush up and be the best
Exactly.
miniature paint. I can't draw, I can't paint on canvas or do anything like that, but I can paint miniatures because I've spent time practicing and just doing it over years. That's it. That's literally what I've done.
I think as well, there's that thing about, you know, being happy with the standard that you're at as well. It's like, I know like some people really beat themselves up about their painting and stuff. I'm happy at the standard I'm at.
Yeah.
Like
100%.
I've got friends of mine that are going to like master classes and their painting's it's brilliant. Like I can't knock it at all. But like I haven't got the desire to then take it to that level. But I just enjoy the process of actually painting and getting it out on the table. So it's like, you know, the giants I'm doing at the moment. Like I love them. The whole thing about them is just great. So just spending say a week solid just painting a giant's kneecap for me has been amazing. But I know it's never going to look like Golden Demon stand.
No,
I'm happy with the stand it's going to end up because it's going to be all right. When it's all done. Load of dad bod rocking giants.
No. And I think you're right. I think you've got to accept that you're a certain standard. But there are so many tools. We live in a great era of internet and videos and paint tutorials. You know, there's so many people out there that have got such simple methods that you can get a reasonable looking army out, really. And actually at a reasonable pace. I mean, that's my problem with painting. I'm so slow. I paint to a nice standard, but I'm so slow.
Yeah.
And that's demoralising, you know, when you've...
Yeah, so you sort of then... The worst one is when you want to paint quicker, you paint quicker, you start making mistakes going back and it ends up taking you longer.
Yes, it's annoying as hell. But, you know, I don't think there's any excuse for not having painted armies, but I would never ridicule anyone if they turned up without one. Yeah. You know, if that's what they want to do and that's the way they want to play, then so be it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with that. So, yeah, going on from that, so obviously with the pandemic and stuff, it's been really difficult getting everyone around and sort of playing games and chatting and stuff like that. It's been really difficult, especially limiting how many people can come into the shop and all that. I found it quite difficult because I used to do painting tutorials in the shop, and I found it really difficult at the moment because I can't do the tutorials and maintain social distancing or anything. So I've been trying to sort of teach new people how to paint, but it's
almost remotely, right?
Almost, yeah. I mean, I've done a couple of little videos on things that people have asked for, but it's been really tough. And I think a lot of people I've been talking to have been saying about using Tabletop Simulator and stuff like that, but it's not the same.
So I've been using Tabletop Simulator a lot, and I've even tried to play a game of Warhammer 40k on Tabletop Simulator. It's just a faff. I mean, I've been playing a lot of board games, and a lot of the board games, there's pros and cons to it. Some of the elements are a lot quicker. Trying to deal out cards and things like that can be a bit of a pain, or search for cards and things like that can be a bit slower. But playing 40k on Tabletop Simulator was just awful. I really didn't rate it. For me, like we were saying about the painting, like for me, my enjoyment of this is actually the game. I've always enjoyed spending time around a table with some friends. Yeah. That's why I got into this. That's what I enjoy. Yeah. And there isn't really much of a substitute for that. Tabletop Simulator's been as close as I can get, but
it's a stopgap at best.
Yeah.
Yeah, my brother was telling me a story about when he was trying to use it, and because I've never used it, I'm just going by what people have told me. And he was saying he was trying to move a model across the table, but the physics thing wasn't set right. So he nudged a bit of scenery, and the whole thing just exploded into a bit like pixels going everywhere.
There's so much you can do. Like, it's really clever. You can adjust the physics of it, so you can adjust the gravity and how much things slide on the table and all of these things. And it's great. And there are people that put a lot of effort, like designed some really cool 3D environments for you to play a game of 40k on.
I mean, I can't really comment on it because I flat outright refuse to do it. I just 40k, in fact any form of game, 40k, Sigmar, Song of Ice and Fire, any game you're playing that's tabletop has to be done tabletop. Even roleplay, we've done some Roll20 stuff which was bearable. It was okay, but it doesn't beat being around the table and for me the reason I love this hobby so much, and I'm still doing it at 37, is the fact that I've got mates that I can interact with and go out with, and we can have a beer, and we can have a bit of a banter across a table. And the minute you start sort of making it just available online, it's great. It's a great tool. It's helped a lot of people. And, it's allowed a lot of people to keep doing the hobby. But for me, I just sort of flat refused to do it because it wasn't what I believe this hobby is all about.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah, and it's one of those. It's the big strengths of this. I would like. It's so funny when you hear some people who come into the shop who don't know anything about it. They have such weird misconceptions of what hobby is, and it's always like, oh yeah, but I don't want my son just to be sort of locked up in a room not doing anything. It's like, well, then you want him doing this then, because they'll be out talking to people in person.
We've touched on this before in other podcasts, but so we started playing when we were like 11, 12. We played these games, and then we hit about like 17, 18. And then we suddenly thought, maybe this isn't the coolest thing to do, and a lot of us stopped gaming.
Well, certainly hid it from the rest of the world.
Well, we became closet gamers.
Yeah.
And what was it? Early 20s, mid 20s, and I sort of came to the realization that we used to play computer games. Remember the days of GoldenEye when 4 of you would sit with a controller in front of a big TV in a little corner, but you were your mates. You were sitting there. It was an activity, and computer games have moved into that realm because of the advent of the internet. And don't get me wrong, it's awesome. That's what I do for a living, but it's encouraged us to be more isolated in our room with our rig, headphones in. Yes, you're still chatting to your mates. Mark and I, we played a lot of World of Warcraft. We did that over lockdown. You are technically interacting with your friends, but you're doing so in this sort of detached.
But
you're doing this in this detached way, and it was that detachment that's what got me back into the hobby in my sort of mid-20s, because I realised what I really enjoyed. I enjoy playing computer games. What I really enjoy is sitting around a table with my friends, chatting about it, playing the game face to face.
Yeah, nothing beats it.
I mean, I remember when we was at secondary school, a friend of ours, Sam, him and myself were trying to get a wargaming club at our secondary school. And the argument was, it was great for mathematics. You know, you create a list that's a certain amount of points, so you're looking at numbers all the time, you're rolling dice, you're subtracting, you know, you're adding, you're having to write lists down, you're always writing. It's actually not a bad thing for a bit of education as well. You know, it's keeping your skills, you know, your maths skills. I mean, I've got good mental arithmetic based on wargaming.
Yeah.
You know,
Probabilities.
yeah,
We are all good at probabilities. There's only one reason we're good at probabilities.
yes, but
Spreadsheets. Oh my god. Yeah, no, I draw the line at spreadsheets. You've ruined it for
yeah,
me.
you've even done me a spreadsheet.
I love a good spreadsheet.
But I mean, it's so funny when you hear about closet gamers, because I always make the jokes like you never really leave the hobby. And when I worked at the Independent, there was always those people going, oh, it's amazing, isn't it? This company Games Workshop's doing so well. No one seems to know why. I'm like, I can tell you why. There's a lot of closet gamers.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, even to the point of, I mean, I know guys that, you know, my friends, uncles that got us into D&D. I mean, these guys are like approaching their 60s and they're still doing D&D. And I'd like to think at 60 I'm still gaming. You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's and you know, there are people that we've had it before that will argue it's an expensive hobby, right? That's another point that I don't really want to go down the road of. But there's no hobby you don't spend money in. Right?
I won't have it. I won't have it as well. It's such an easy complaint. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't. And it's actually sort of like it's just so not true.
No, it's really not.
Because actually, when you look at what you're getting,
well, every model Games Workshop release is probably the best quality of model in the entire world.
yeah.
You know, if it wasn't, there would be other companies surpassing them. There are other companies that are decent, but
I use the comparison with a computer game. So like if you bought an Xbox game, you buy a starter set, right? Even if you bought the the Recruit Edition, right? You're building that, you're painting it, then you're playing a game with it. You're probably going to be getting something out of that kit for months, if not a year.
Years.
Yeah.
I've still got those Tyranids. I started collecting when I was 12.
They were 1990.
Yeah. A computer game.
My Dark Angel army, you know, maybe not today, but I can get some of my old original Marines back out again. You know,
so like you buy an Xbox game or something like that. Realistically,
you spend £50, you complete it in 48 hours, you're done.
Yeah, that's it. And
That's
you've got
generally
literally nothing to show for it.
What did I purchase? I bought Arkham Knight, Batman Arkham Knight. Amazing game. Completed it in a week. Just literally, and in order to complete it, you have to get 100% completion.
Mm-hmm.
I'm never going to go back to it.
No.
Awesome game. Never going to go back to it.
Yeah.
You know, or the other argument is, say, World of Warcraft, you pay 40, 50 quid. I mean, there's some versions of the game now that are like 80 quid just to buy because you get stuff in game.
Yeah.
But you're paying a tenner a month every month to play it, or 9 quid a month. Plus you've paid the initial 50 quid to buy it.
Yeah.
You know, and there's expansions every year and a half or 2 years. You know.
Yeah. So I just don't buy that argument at all when people say that, because it's just.
Plus you've got to have probably a £600-700 PC to play it on.
Yeah.
Or a £300-400 PlayStation. You know,
Well, the PlayStation's almost like, there's 500 quid.
Not so bad now. I think they've come down.
They come down.
Yeah.
The new ones
coming out. That's going to be 500
The
quid.
PS5 is about 500 quid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's got to be.
So, yeah, I just don't get that argument.
I mean,
it doesn't make sense.
Think how many models you could get 500 quid. Or even you could buy an army and everything to paint it and build it and do it. 500 quid, you would get a lot of models.
You'd have changed as well.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah.
So that's
I did.
Sorry, that was an argument. I've just set off on another tangent.
So now I'm thinking of what I'm going to do. Is get myself another army. Yeah. So, yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And the last one, so this came up today, and I'm not letting it drop. Right?
Don't make me do it.
Right. So, and actually I'm going to tie it in with, actually Mantic are bringing out Armada, which is fantasy, battle at the high seas, dwarf
That's
ship.
like the old Man of War style.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah. So they're bringing that out. So I've shoehorned that in as an excuse to bring this topic back up. So, earlier...
Was it yes and 7?
Yes. Right.
Well, that was you. That was just wrong.
So Mark was talking about going down to Portsmouth and visiting the Victory. And how did it come about?
It started. Rob and I think about going down to HMS Victory next week, and I said that they have a token crew on board.
That's right, yeah.
Because it's still an active warship within the British Navy. And then
It's something about the cannons came up.
Then it was about cannons. Then it was about pirating, and if it could go out and deal with
take on some Somali
pirates. Then Rob said, "I don't care how many AK-47s you have, the Victory's still going to win."
Yeah.
And I said, "But they might have RPGs."
Yeah.
So then it was brought up: could an RPG penetrate the hull?
Rob made the claim, the bold claim, that the RPG wouldn't do anything to it. And I said it would blow a hole in it.
No, you said it would. You said it would blow it up.
Blow up.
It's the
same thing.
No.
It'll blow it up. Yeah, I'm sticking that there. It'll blow it up.
An RPG would not blow up HMS Victory. There's absolutely no way.
Well, that's going to go in the comments. So people now are going to have to make that. So I'm going to see what people say. An RPG into the side of a wooden ship.
Not happening. It is not blowing up the HMS Victory. You are not going to fire RPG at HMS Victory and blow it up.
It's going to blow a hole in it.
I mean, you think about it. These warships, they're used to taking these blasts. I mean, I say used to. This was a long time ago, obviously, but they used to taking like cannons and stuff.
It was a high explosive.
Yeah, well, okay, fine. So you blow holes in the side of the ship with the cannons, but they still carried on blowing holes in each other, and then they repaired them, and then they floated away again.
I don't know. An RPG has enough force to blow a hole in the side of the Victory. That's all I'm saying.
And even if it does have enough to blow a hole in the side of the Victory, it's not
blowing
going
it
to
up.
sink the ship.
It's not blowing
Depends
it up.
where you hit it. It could blow it up.
Hit the
Don't get me wrong. There were ships that blew up if they penetrated the ammunition hole.
Yeah. What was it called? The
oh god, now my mind's gone blank.
right.
We'll come back to it.
But if you hit hypothetical, if you hit a powder monkey on the Victory with an RPG, the ship's going up.
No.
It's going up.
The powder monkey's going to be in a
Powder
bad
monkey's
place.
going up.
I mean, he's probably going to land on the French coast somewhere, right? But I'm not so sure even hitting a powder monkey is going to blow up. Because they only really carry enough gunpowder for a few can at a time. Because they don't need huge amounts. They were like canisters of gunpowder.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
It's going up. And we need someone in Lehman Land
I'm just
going to
to say,
solve that.
I've made my point.
It's blowing up.
You're not blowing
I
up.
think we've all got friends in the military. I would say that we
Let's put the word out.
Need to have a chat.
We need
Find out.
to get that. Yeah, we need to get that worked out.
And maybe there's somebody in the military that's going to listen to this podcast and will be able to definitively say how much wood can an RPG penetrate.
Yeah, and anyone who wants
The only
to
man
weigh
that
in.
confirms if this is true or not is Horatio Nelson. And he ain't around no more.
Because
He'll tell you what his ship can take and what it can't
He's
take.
not the only man.
Well, he is. I'm telling you.
Oh right, okay. We're in that sort of
We're
argument
going down
now.
the 4-year-old argument again. 4-year-old attitude.
Yeah.
That's it. It's only got.
Oh right, okay. Well, we're doing that. That's actually fine. Well, fine. So everyone, thanks so much for listening to this. It was great to get the new podcast going. Mark, Tony, thanks so much for
Great to
having
see
a go
you
at
guys
it.
as well, and actually do something socially distance and it actually be
Yeah.
safe.
No, it's been good. It's been really good. Everyone, if you want to comment on whether or not the Victory would explode or not, just put it down in the comments. It'd be great to see what people think.
Can we do a poll? Is there any way to make it a poll?
No, I don't know. I'll check.
Stick it. Or do a poll on the challenge group.
Yeah, I'll do a poll
There's
on
no point having two responses. The only response is no.
It's not much of a poll, is it?
Can you do a one tick poll with the HMS Victory?
You could. That's basically what it's going to be.
And then just
They're just going to ignore the second option.
You're all outrageous. All right, thanks very much, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.